What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Pit, and in honor of the 30 Days of the Dead Man, today we're looking at the Undertaker's best matches ever. First up, Undertaker vs CM Punk at WrestleMania 29. The build to this match became controversial when Punk introduced an urn with the ashes of Taker's former manager Paul Bearer, who had recently passed away, but the match itself isn't controversial in that it absolutely delivered. This was Punk's last WrestleMania match as of now, but that's not a possibility. And what a way to go out. The build to the match, rightly or wrongly, will always be memorable for its controversy, but the match once again shows that the Taker often did his best work against smaller and more undersized opponents, such as Shawn Michaels. Next up, Undertaker vs Triple H at WrestleMania 28, End of an Era. And this match, what concluded a 4-year story with Shawn Michaels and his best friend Triple H taking on The Undertaker, it was just incredible, to say the least. After Shawn's 2 losses at Mania 25 and 26, Hunter came out to try and do what Shawn couldn't at WrestleMania 27. Spoiler alert, he didn't. They followed it up at WrestleMania 28 by bringing back Michaels as a special guest referee, this time locking them all up in a Hell in a Cell. The crowd was totally invested throughout as the Streak seemed in danger, especially with HBK as the referee. The near falls during the match made the crowd go absolutely bonkers, and we got one of the more memorable post-match send-offs in WrestleMania history to cap it all off. Next up, Undertaker vs Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 26. It's hard to imagine any match topping what the two did at WrestleMania at 25 the previous year in Houston, but they may have done that the following year in Arizona. Fans are truly split on which of the two matches were better, but in the end it doesn't really matter. Both stand the test of time as two of the all-time greatest matches in WrestleMania history. This time out, the story was pretty different. Michaels put his career on the line to see if he could finally be the person to end the streak. The storyline built to this one might have been better than the previous year, though the actual match may have been better 1 year earlier as it was more original at the time. As we all know, Michaels lost and retired until he came back for a match in Saudi Arabia in the fall of 2018, but we're just going to ignore that. And as we've seen play out on the last ride, Taker's somewhat envious to how HBK was able to walk away from the ring after this match and have a nice ending to his career. Next up, Undertaker vs Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. Taker and Shawn rekindled their feud from the 90s by facing off for the first time at WrestleMania in both of their home states of Texas. It's hard to think of anything to say about this one that hasn't already been said. It's easily a top 5 WrestleMania match of all time, with many believing it is the best. At the time, what really stood out about the match was all the false finishes and kickouts following finishing moves. While that's more commonplace today, perhaps even too common sometimes, back then it was more unique and had the fans on the edge of their seats in Houston. It was a true roller coaster that set the stage for the next year. Undertaker vs Edge at SummerSlam 2008. From the very first match in 1997 all the way up through another classic encounter with Brock Lesnar in 2015, The Undertaker was always spectacular in the Hell in a Cell. Heck, 4 of the top 10 matches in this list are Hell in a Cell matches. Taker and Edge followed up their classic at WrestleMania in 2008 with another classic at the second biggest show of the year, SummerSlam, this time inside of the fabled cage. This one sometimes isn't talked about as much as the WrestleMania match, but it is actually, in my opinion, an even better match. It is 100% Taker's greatest SummerSlam match. You should check it out. Next up, Undertaker vs Edge at WrestleMania 24. This was the only time that Edge headlined at WrestleMania, and it sometimes gets lost in lists looking back at Taker's best matches because of what came the next 2 years against Shawn Michaels. However, this one certainly holds up 12 years later. At the time, this one was neck and neck with the WrestleMania 21 match against Orton and a battle with Batista the previous year as Taker's greatest WrestleMania match. While Taker's career was never known for championship reigns, simply put, he just didn't need the title, it was cool to see him win the world title at Mania for the second consecutive year and third time ever. And last but certainly not least, Undertaker vs Randy Orton at WrestleMania 21. I would argue that this was Undertaker's first truly great WrestleMania match. By this point, the streak was established, and Orton had developed his reputation as the legend killer. Who better to take on than one of the sport's ultimate legends at the biggest show of the year? Once again, just as when he feuded with Michaels, when you put Undertaker in the ring with a smaller and more agile opponent, you get something particularly memorable. Undertaker kept up with the younger Orton and had a really good outing on this night in Los Angeles. Oh, and the streak remained intact. Alright guys, well thank you for watching this video of WWE Pit. If you enjoyed, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe, comment down below your favorite one. Mine's got to be Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 28. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay safe and have a great day.